Okay. So the trait perspective. Now, this goes back to our first or early piece of this lecture where we talked about what is personality, right? So personality is relatively stable. And one of the models that allows us to assess the relatively stable aspect of who you are is the trait perspective. And when we think about the history of understanding personality, Gordon Alpert is one of the first people who attempted to try and explain traits and how they operate. Now, when we study personality, we could study you as a unique person or an idio from an idiographic perspective, or we could look for similarities in larger groups of people, which is more of a nomothetic approach. Now, when talking about traits, there are it's important to understand there are different levels of traits, right? There are cardinal traits, which is more of like your essence, who you are. So if you were to think of Mother Teresa, you might think of self sacrifice, right? Then there are central traits, and you could have many central traits. They're easy to infer, they show up in many aspects of your life. And then we have secondary traits, which are not as available, don't show up as much in your life. Okay. So when Alpert wanted to understand traits, he went into the dictionary and he found 18,000 words that could describe a person. So these are all aspects of character, a trait. Now, what Cattell did was really cool. Raymond Cattell took these 18,000 words and tried to find similarities. And he used a mathematical procedure called factor analysis, where he correlated words that are linked, right? So he took those 18,000 words and was able to shrink it down to 16 primary traits and 5 secondary traits of personality. So I'll show you the 16 primary factors in a minute. But think about that, right? If you go in a dictionary, you might have synonyms like happy, glad, joyful, jubilant. They're all linked to a common theme, right? So Cattell did a tremendous job shrinking things down further to 16 factors. Okay. Now there is another researcher, Heinz Eysenck, which actually he talks about a 3 factor model, right? So introversion versus extroversion, neuroticism, which is stability versus instability, and then psychoticism, right? So being in touch with reality. Now, I will tell you that if you read up on Eysenck, he's a controversial figure as well, because there's question as to how much of his data was authentic. Remember how I talked to you about the ethical principle of not engaging in fraud or research fraud? Well, Hans Eysenck, there's question about some of his work. So we teach him, but I'm going to put an asterisk by his name the same way in baseball you put an asterisk by Barry Bonds' name, let's say. Okay. Now here are the 16 primary factors in the middle. So warmth, right? Reasoning, emotional stability, etc. So let's just take a couple. If a person scored high on warmth, they're going to show up as kind and easygoing and outgoing and friendly and all of these things. But if they're low on warmth, they're going to be more distant or detached or cold or aloof. So you notice it's on a spectrum, every single one of these 16 factors. Now, what's interesting is that these 16 factors can be further reduced to the big five. And the big five is probably one of the more powerful models of personality. So the big five, if you want a mnemonic, let's use the mnemonic of ocean: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So on the graph on the right, where it says emotional stability, you're talking about neuroticism. Okay. So we do believe Einstein's theory has some merit, but it's incomplete, right? So another approach was Costa McCrae. What is openness? That is openness to experience, the willingness to try new things, right? Um, Conscientiousness is about being consistent and reliable. Extroversion versus introversion is how sociable you are. Agreeableness is, how well you work with others, how well you play in the sandbox. So are you more cooperative or are you more confrontational, right? And then neuroticism is whether relative anxiety, how calm versus anxious you are. And you'll notice that these big five, if you go back to the previous 16, those spectrums, uh, they're linked. So Costa McCrae did a good job. Now, what we love about the big five is that Costa McCrae validated their big five in many different cultures on all six inhabited continents. And we find stability on these five factors. There's consistency. So they are indeed true personality factors or traits. Okay. Now, related to trait theory, we have something called personality inventories. And a personality inventory is a questionnaire, and it's designed to tap into many aspects of personality or behavior. One of the more common ones is the MMPI, Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. It has over 500 questions and it taps into 10 clinical scales. Now, things like depression or schizophrenia or paranoia, etc., all of these can be assessed. The MMPI is basically a true or false questionnaire, and you have the opportunity to leave some blank if you don't know or cannot say, right? But we keep track of your answers. And because we know there are natural tendencies or biases, we test for accuracy. So we do have some validity scales. The three primary validity scales are the L scale, which is faking good, the F scale, which is faking bad, and the K scale, which is defensiveness, right? So we could tell whether you're being over exaggerating your positive attributes, exaggerating your negative attributes, being defensive. We could also see what the pattern of how many you left blank. In principle, if you leave 10 items blank, it's supposed to invalidate the test. Most of us look at what you left blank and see if there's a pattern there too. And then there's something called the back page and frequency scale, which is a comparison between your first half of the test and your latter questions in the test, and whether there's consistency or whether you develop some boredom. So the back page and frequency scale allows us to determine whether you lost interest in a test. So we need validity scales so that you can't just fake the test. Now, the last piece we're going to talk about is the social cognitive perspective.